to day 9 of the 12 days of Page Turners. We've heard some fantastic authors and wonderful promotions, and tonight is going to be more wonderful authors, wonderful holiday promotions. So that's enough chit chat for me because you guys are not here to hear from me. So let's dive in and get these authors talking about their holiday promotions. So first up is Carol. Carol, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. How are you doing?
Good, really good. Really excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us all what genre or genres you write in and the title of your books.
Okay, children's book. And the name of my book is The Adventures of Mo, which is part of an overall geography program. It's free, it's online, it actually drives the program, but it is an ebook, lots of fun, lots of interaction, lots of engagement. So that's the name of the book.
Nice. So tell me a little bit more about the book and how it drives this program.
Of course. The book is actually a road trip. If I had to sum it up in 2 words, like an elevator pitch, it would be a road trip. It's about a dog and a bird, 2 friends, who travel on top of a delivery truck without the driver's knowledge to every single state in the country. And they're searching for the owner of a lost key whom they believe lives in Florida. So the book is 50 chapters, 1 per U.S. state. No 2 are alike. This is very unique. This is not a cookie cutter, series. Kids learn not only about geography and history, cardinal directions. They have fun reading because if this book isn't entertaining, nobody's going to read it. So that's really the essence of the book. And like I said, it drives a geography program because kids learn a lot about every state that they go to. Like, I'll bet you didn't know that the state of Wyoming has a landing strip for Jovians. Jovians are the people from Jupiter. Okay, if anybody from Jupiter wants to take a vacation, whether or not they have enough vacation days, that's up to them. But there's actually a landing strip in Wyoming that they can go to that's reserved for them. I mean, when I was researching this book, I found out so many fun facts about this country, and the history is phenomenal and everything else. So what I did is I combined the love of our family dog named Mozart or Mo with geography.
Nice. So by Jupiter, do you mean the planet Jupiter, or is there a city? Okay, we're talking a planet.
Okay. Aliens, UFOs, Jupiter, yes.
Okay, I was like, maybe that's not the route we're taking, and it's a city, right? I'm hoping it's a city. Oh my goodness. We'll see. So here is where your book would benefit me. I have not left Texas. I've left. That's a lie. I've left once for 3 days, Detroit, for my husband's cousin's wedding. But Texas is a huge state, okay? Like 14 hours, you're still in the same state. So it's big enough where I don't need to leave. I'm okay. I don't need to leave. So I am going to travel by your book because I am also a terrible flyer. I'm the person, if I don't have enough Bloody Marys on my flight, you don't want to sit by me because like the first sign of turbulence, I'm the person screaming on the plane. And that's embarrassing to admit, but it's the truth. So I'm going to live through your book.
I'm from Detroit, and I lived in 5 different states due to corporate moves and other things. So I've been in multiple cities in those states. And that's partly how I learned about the amazing stuff about every state that I lived in, the cities that I lived in. And so, like I said, I combined the love of my personal need to immortalize our family dog who passed away about 10 years ago, and talk about this country at the same time. So I combined both.
Nice. So when did this book come out?
The book was finished in July 2021. It's online. It's free. The name of the program and the book are the same, The Adventures of Mo, and Mo is M-O, spelled M-O, after Mozart. Okay. And it took me a long time to write it because I was still working full-time, juggling family and all the other things that get in the way. And I finished it in July of 2021. And we've been promoting it since. It's self-published. It's free. And we want not only kids, but adults, people who are ESL students, English as a second language. I actually had a student, an adult, call me saying he wished he had this book when he first came here. He's from the Middle East. And he said, this would not only help me learn English and read English, but teach me about my new country. Because he says it was so much fun. It was so much fun. So it has multiple target audiences.
Nice. See, I'm telling you, I am 31 and I live here, born and raised in Texas. I can speak Texan, I guess is how us Texas say it. But I'm always dying for the opportunity to travel without having to physically travel. I live vicariously, like YouTube channels have tour destinations and they're all videoed. And that's my form of traveling overseas because I can't imagine that flight. So I love the idea and the kind of concept behind your book. And being a 31-year-old, I definitely am interested in your book. So I absolutely love that and how the whole idea and immortalizing your dog kind of came in. I'm a huge dog lover.
Yeah.
So you had me at that.
The chapter name from Texas, I think you'll get a kick out of this, is Annie, the armadillo from Amarillo.
Oh,
so
yes.
I think you'll enjoy that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun book. Like I said, it's entertaining. If it's not entertaining, nobody's going to read it. And because it's so entertaining, there's a lot of behind the scenes learning in it. It's a game. You can read it just for fun. You can read it to learn more about the United States, or you can play a game. Kids guess where the main characters are in because each of the chapters has clues. And they guess, they try to find the clues and guess where the main characters are visiting, what state they're in.
Nice, because that's what I was going to ask. So I have a 4 and a 3-year-old, right? I have Irish twins is what they're called.
Okay.
And they love those kind of like seek and find games in it. And so every book that I get, I tend to make it like they're huge on the Pinkalicious series. I own every one of those books, and we have to find different objects and stuff within it. So is that something that we could do with your book if you have someone with young kids?
Yeah, they're a little young for it. Ideally, it's elementary school age. I'd say you could probably do second grade on up. But
Okay.
I have done this with kindergartners, and I read them the book, and they guess. They get really involved in it. They really enjoy it, and there's 2 drawings, line drawings per chapter. So there's 100 different drawings in the whole book that kids can color. They can pick. They can pick whichever ones they want, and they can send them to me. Write their name, only their first name, their age, and the state they're from, and we post it on the website. So there's lots of ways they can get involved. Or they can draw their own picture. You know, they can do their own interpretation of what they believe that state looks like, or the chapter looks like. What the state looks like based on what the chapter says. So again, lots of ways for them to get involved.
Nice. I love it. So is it something that you will kind of extend on and do like a second book in a similar fashion, maybe towards something else, or is this going to be the only book that you're going to do?
Well, for right now, we're just busy promoting this one. And when this takes off, then this sort of quasi-US geography book can become world geography. It can evolve into, maybe I do a book about France. I do a book about Germany. I do a book about Brazil. You know, it could be all over the world. So that is what my team is envisioning. But we're first starting with the United States. And by the way, people in the US aren't the only ones who are reading this. I went back right before this interview to look at who was visiting the website, who was downloading the chapters in the book. And I've got a list here that I'm going to read from, forgive me from reading, but Denmark, the UK, Germany, Russia, China, Pakistan, South Africa, Indonesia, Bulgaria, Mexico. So there's a bunch of different people from different countries who are getting involved in the adventures of Mo.
Nice. So which state was the most fun for you to kind of research and write about?
You know, every state had its own idiosyncrasies. Like I didn't know, like I told you, the state of Wyoming had this landing strip, okay? When I was doing Alaska, I found out the real reason behind the Iditarod. It's a kind of a hero story. I had no idea. So every state I went to, there's a state park in Arkansas where you can mine for diamonds. You can still dig for diamonds, real diamonds. I didn't know about that. So it's just incredible. Every state always has something. And of course, your state has a sort of a 3-legged not a time machine, but where they buried things about the 21st century that they're going to open, I don't know, maybe 50, 60, 70 years from now. I didn't know.
Like a time capsule?
Time capsule. Thank you. Yes, a time capsule. So
Uh-huh.
every state has its own very unique things and lots of fun to read about, to learn about. And, I've been a journalist, a professional writer and journalist for about 30 years. And I can tell you, this is my favorite project. This is my paws down, all time favorite project.
Is it the only one that, because you said that you mentioned that you're a professional writer and all of those. So is this the first book that you've written kind of for yourself, or first time writing it for yourself and publishing it?
Yeah, I wrote other books that were nonfiction for other publishers. Okay, but this is the first book that I wrote for myself, for others as well, and self-published it online. Wanted to make it free. I wanted everybody to have access to it. Right? It's right now it's not in hard copy, but right now it's online, and I invited kids to participate. In fact, I had a 17-year-old do the majority of the drawings in the book.
Nice.
He was fantastic. I would trust him with the nuclear secrets to this country. He was so great. It was really great.
Nice. Even better, you found like a trustworthy 17-year-old? Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. His work ethic was fantastic. So, and then I know this is the book, and like I said, drives the program. Then I invite kids to tell me about their home state. They videotape themselves, say their first name, the state they're from, and share something about their state with other kids. And I put it on the website. So the book, though, is the driving factor, the driver of this particular geography program. But all you have to do is read the book, and you will learn so much about the United States, so much.
See, I'm always fascinated. So, like history and all of those things, I'm actually really big in. I know. I mean, I like my psychological thrillers too, because they just like take out, inner aggressions that we all have. But I like history and kind of learning more and dabbling more in those arenas, because I feel like to know history kind of gives you power to understand where the direction that cities are going, or and things like that. It's good to educate yourself in history. So I'm a huge history buff and lover. So that's why I said I need your book, because I'm going to use it to travel. Be like, oh, I've been to all these places through this book. I'm going to do that for sure.
If you're taking a road trip and your kids are sitting in the back seat driving you crazy, and you've already given them the hamburger and the fries and the milkshake or whatever it is you give them, and then you've still got hours and hours and hours left, because they can color, they can play the game, you can use the trivia on the website in conjunction with the book. So everything is together. And it's really a story about helping people understand where they are. A lot of people don't know the states around them. A lot of the people don't know the cities around them. A lot of the people don't know cardinal directions. They don't know if their city is north or south, east or west of, other cities in their state. So this is a book that really everyone can enjoy at all ages. And I've had adults call me to say, wow, we had no idea about any of this stuff that was happening either in their state or in this country. And it was a huge learning experience for me. Lots of fun. Lots of fun.
So what kind of drove you to create the program and have this book kind of be the driving force for that program? What kind of was the inspiration or kind of spark that got all of this going and up off the ground?
Well, the book sort of had a mind of its own. It sort of led me. I didn't lead it. It told me what to do, how to do it, where to do it, how and when to do it. After I wrote this book, and the more I got into it, the more chapters, I said, you know what? I'm not done. Mo and Finchy, the main characters in this book, are not done. They still need to travel. They still need to learn. We still need to engage other kids and other adults or other people, even grandparents who read this to their kids. Good activity for them to do over the phone to engage, their grandkids that they haven't seen. And so I said, well, what else can I do? And then so the program has a state blog. We have Tuesday trivia. Every Tuesday we have a new trivia question. I had contests for kids with great prizes that I would love as a kid. I would love as an adult, actually, not just as a kid. And then we have the video program. So it keeps building momentum. It keeps evolving. And Mo and Finchy, the characters, are telling me this is what we need to do. I don't know if anybody heard this or not, but there was a study that National Geographic did. They interviewed adults who were 18 to 24 years old. They asked them to identify or locate New York on a US map. Only half could do that. That was another driving factor, or driving force of this particular program and book. So as a journalist, I did a lot of research, and I was reading a lot about the studies that National Geographic did and other people about geographic illiteracy and how this Americans maybe need to spruce up on their American geography and learn more about their country, not only the geography, but the history. So all of this sort of converged at the same time after our dog passed, and I wanted to immortalize him. So it all came together beautifully. The stars were aligned.
Nice. See, I'm going to hate to admit it, but I am geography challenged, especially when we start getting like I'm challenged, especially when you get me like overseas and they're like, yeah, this is like right here. I'm like, I don't know. I just know like it's above Australia on my thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And they're like, Amy, what direction does it go? I'm like, I don't know. Technology tells me these things. I don't know. I'm sorry. I passed geography in high school. It was the last time I took it. You know, like it's a hot mess. That's why I'm like, okay, I need your book. Carol, I put me down. I'm going to get a book. It's on my thing. But speaking of your book, and it is holiday time, tell us what your holiday promotion is.
Okay, well, spoiler alert. Okay, so I'm just going to say that in advance. As I said, the book has 50 chapters, one per state, U.S. state, right? But I decided I needed to do it more justice. So I did a chapter, spoiler alert, on the nation's capital, on Washington, D.C. Lots of fun. It introduces the concept of democracy, senators, Republicans, the president, but in a very low-key way. The ending is a little bit of a surprise. And I think my marketing director, when she read this, she says, I was just cracking up. She says, I was just cracking up at the ending. So I like hearing that because I know adults can enjoy it and kids would enjoy it. So this is a bonus chapter. No one has read it other than my team, and it will go online in January. But if you want to get the bonus chapter free, just send me an email, info@adventuresofmo.com, and I'll send it to you. And you can enjoy it and be entertained by it. And there'll be 2 pictures that your kids can color as well, or create their own pictures, create their own drawings.
Wonderful. Well, Carol, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us on the 12 Days of Page Turners. It's such a delight. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course, Francesca, are you ready? I'm going to bring you down. No. Okay. But you can hear me? Francesca.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but you can hear me?
Yes. I
see,
can.
Well, at least your video is frozen on like a great pose. You know, if it was me and it was frozen, I would be looking, like a hot mess, all crazy and stuff. So it's on a fabulous pose that it's frozen on. But Francesca, hey girl, tell us what genre you write in and the title of your book.
Well, hi everyone. Happy holidays. I write in the horror genre, and the title of my book is called They Hide: Short Stories to Tell in the Dark, out now from Bridget's Gate Press. It is my love letter to horror tropes. So there's 13 chapters in there, each one focused on a specific monster. So I've got a werewolf story, a witch story, a vampire story, you name it. I got a couple aliens thrown in there. So it's a super fun horror adventure, but it's not for the faint of heart. It is unfortunately not all ages. It is definitely for adults.
Francesca, I have to tell you something. I have read your book and I had to take a break and read like a Puppies and Rainbow story because it literally, I had to like turn the lights on, and I like to like scare myself, right? Like turn the lights off, get all like in the mood, like, woo, yeah, I'm about to get scared. And I had to turn my lights on, and I was like, I need to sing a happy song, and I was like, Puppies and Rainbows. And my husband's over here like, what is your problem? What's up with Puppies and Rainbows? I'm like, look, I need something. I have to read your book and like spaces. I can't just sit down and read it. I'm like, oh, I got to complete this one, and then I gotta read something happy, because it's the only book to do that. I love it, and thank you so much for doing that to me.
You know, as a horror writer, that is the best compliment you can get. Like, your book terrified me. I had to put it down. I had to turn the lights on at night. I had to leave a light on. I had to check under the bed. I had to make sure the closet doors were closed before I went to bed. Like, that just makes my black heart sing. So I appreciate you saying all of that.
Oh, of course. And I mean it, because I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and Stephen King is one of those authors that can do that to me, and I love it. And I'm like, give me more. Like, I still have to turn the lights on, and you did that for me. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I haven't had this feeling in a really long time. And when we did your book launch and I got your book and I was reading it, I was in the bathtub at the time and I was reading it and I was like, holy crap, I got to get out. Like, I got to get out and I got to go like talk to somebody and just, sing a happy tune. I was like, oh, this is great. I haven't felt this in a long time. So it was like exhilarating and scary all at the same time. And I was like, yes, I'm here for it. I love
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear it. That's awesome.
You are welcome. You deserve it. But for others, besides myself, because I have read your book, tell us a little bit about They Hide.
Sure. Yeah. So I've always been a huge fan of horror in general. I did grow up in a haunted house when I was a kid. And so, being afraid of the dark, being afraid of things that go bump in the night came pretty natural to me. And some of my favorite things to read since I was little have been anthologies or collections of stories by various authors. Some of my favorites are, a whole book dedicated to vampires. And there's like 100 different authors giving their take on a vampire. And I just love how creative people can get on very well-worn horror tropes. And so my challenge for myself over COVID was, can I create a short story collection on these well-worn and beloved horror tropes and have something new to say? Can I find a new story? Can I explore, what's my take on a vampire? What's my take on a werewolf? And so it was kind of my personal challenge to write, 13 unique stories. And each of them are really different. Some of them come from, historical fiction perspective. Some of them are thrillers. Some of them are gothic horror. Some of them are body horror. Some of them are erotic horror. So each story I try to do really uniquely different so that it would appeal to a large audience. And hopefully there's some in there that folks will gravitate towards.
I love to hear that and kind of what all went into it. And so I'm dying to know what your writing process was with They Hide. Was it this kind of like methodical and outline, which I failed outlines in high school? Like, I have a love-hate relationship with those. Or is it just kind of you write one story and you kind of bounce around? What was your writing kind of process for They Hide?
Yeah, so I'm a pantser, not a plotter, which means I don't plot my stuff ahead of time. I just kind of write, see where the story goes and see where it takes me. And that's way too, I can be surprised at the ending. I did finish each story by themselves. I didn't jump around and, tackle one story and do like a couple paragraphs in another story. So I did have to finish each story before I moved on to the next. But really, there were some points where I kind of felt possessed. I was just writing as fast as I could, just kind of taking dictation on all the things I was seeing in my mind as the story was playing out before me. There's one episode, so the first story is called The Wisterfield Murders. And it takes place in a Salem witch trial kind of scenario. And there's, spoiler alert, there's another monster besides a witch in there. And when I was writing about the monster, I had no idea where it came from, no idea what it looked like. And as I was describing it, it was so vivid and so visceral that I literally had nightmares about it that night. And so, patting myself on the back as a horror writer, I gave myself nightmares writing it.
I would say that that's wonderful, but I feel like me and you would be the only ones that are like, yeah, that is wonderful. It would sound really weird if I was just
awesome.
Like, oh, that's great that you had nightmares, like, oh no, I don't wish nightmares on anyone. But the fact that it was something that you had written, I feel like is the biggest compliment to you yourself as how powerful and strong your writing is.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's always a good compliment, especially if you can kind of scare yourself as a writer. So I'm super thrilled with how it turned out, and it really is my love letter to horror.
It's an amazing book, but I want to know, what movie or book did you read that created the love for horror that you have today?
Oh, I read Stephen King's Salem Lot too young. I think I was probably 11 or 12. And it was that book that, put me on a love affair with horror. And, I don't have a very good memory. Like, I can't tell you the plot of Salem's Lot, but I can tell you how it made me feel. I remember being thrilled, scared, intrigued, and just totally engulfed in the story. And, that's a credit to Stephen King, but also just that level of visceral fear. It was really tangible when I read Salem's Lot in an early age. So I'd say that was the one that kind of kickstarted my love of horror.
Okay. Do you have a favorite like horror film that you love, or like slasher film or something that's just like a tradition for you to watch?
Yes. So I'm the biggest Nightmare Before Christmas fan you can think of. I love all Tim Burton. And so Nightmare Before Christmas, I watch that at least 12 times a year, probably. And then as far as like, cult classics, I'm not a huge horror, slasher fan. But one of the movies, kind of like Salem's Lot, something that I watched a little too early was A Clockwork Orange. And that really say that I particularly like that movie, but it really kind of messed me up in a way that, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so that was a really pivotal movie that I saw a little too early.
I haven't heard of that movie, but now that you like mention it, all that, I'm intrigued and I want to watch that. I think the one that traumatized me was the Human Centipede. It has traumatized me where I can't even, like, just saying that name of that movie has given me like the heebie-jeebies, and I'm in all goosebumps. So it's definitely traumatic for me in that like whole sense of it. But I want to know what kind of is next for you. Yes, I can.
Yeah, sorry, it's getting a little choppy, so I'm waiting for the delay here.
It's okay.
What's next for me is I'm working on my 4th issue of my comic.
What?
Okay, great. So I'm working on the 4th issue of my comic. Yeah, Black Cat Chronicles. They're true tales of horror narrated by a black cat. Each one tells a true horror story of a particular mystery anywhere in the world. So like the first one takes place in a haunted cemetery in Scotland. The second one takes place at a town that goes missing in Alaska, Port Chatham. The third one takes place in Antarctica during World War II and all of this really weird military stuff going on. And the fourth one I'm working on right now is about Portland, Oregon, and this kind of secret underground of, people getting shanghaied against their will. So a lot of human trafficking, all this took place in the 1850s. Every single story is true, horrific, has some paranormal bents to it. And it's, like I said, it's narrated by a mystical black cat. So it's my love affair with comics is my Black Cat Chronicles series.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea that you do comics. Oh my gosh, Francesca. We just need to be BFFs, and you need to move closer. But what kind of research goes into, putting your comic together, especially since you do it in different locations? What kind of research goes into that?
A lot of it. Sometimes I do go to the physical locations and kind of just experience it and try to take pictures and immerse myself in what I'm feeling. I did that for the first issue with the Greyfriars Cemetery in Scotland. Some of the other, I can't, I haven't been to Antarctica. It's a little too far for me, but I did a lot of research. It takes about 3 months to do research on one particular comic book series, because I'm trying to go really deep and find those hidden gems, things, facts that most people wouldn't know about. Like those, military missions before, during, and after World War II by the US, the British, and the Nazis. And so it's a lot of weird stuff that I uncovered when I was doing my research for that.
Man, Antarctica is a little far and it's a little cold. It's a little cold. I wouldn't recommend Antarctica.
Just a little bit.
Unless you like being cold. I don't know. I always just picture just penguins up there. I'm like, oh, I'll go see the penguins. But then I'm like, it's cold and there's ice and I'm not about that life. So I can't do that. But 3 months worth of research. So how long does it take you to do your comic books, to put them together and do all of that? What is that process like for you?
Yeah, so the process for the book was I write the script, and it's kind of like writing a stage play. When I write the directions for the artist, who is a very talented man by the name of Nate Olson in New Hampshire. And so I'll write down, like it's daytime, our black cat is on a hillside looking down on a cityscape. And then I'll write, kind of like the dialogue last. And so I have to kind of visualize the scenes and visualize the panels and the pacing, and then write down those stage directions, and then hand those over to the artist. And we go back and forth about, yeah, that looks right. Well, let's tweak this here. Let's tweak that there. But so it's a very collaborative process once I turn over the script. But my artist is so amazing. I feel like he's living inside my head, because whenever he turns pages over, they're exactly how I envisioned them. So I don't have to do a lot of work. He makes my job really easy.
Nice. So, Francesca, tell us all about your holiday specials and promotions this holiday season.
Sure, great. Okay, I'm happy to share with this. So They Hide Short Stories to Tell in the Dark, for my US customers, the first 25 folks are up until Christmas Day. You get an absolutely free Kindle ebook. And for my UK customers, you get a free audiobook of They Hide Short Stories to Tell in the Dark. Up to 20 participants, or again, ends on Christmas Day. All you have to do is go to my website at francescamaria.com, and there'll be a big banner there. You can just click on it, and it'll walk you through the process. So absolutely free, no strings attached.
Wonderful. Well, Francesca, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us today.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Amy, and sorry for the technical difficulties.
Oh, girl, it is all good. Coming up next and coming on down is Dr. Morale. How are you?
I'm good, Amy. How are you?
I am doing good. So before we dive into what genre and the title of your book, I am dying to know, what do you have your doctorate degree in?
So I'm an MD, and I study pediatrics, child and adolescent psychiatry at Hopkins.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. That's amazing. And you work with little kids, so it's even cooler, because I have 2 little kids that, there are some days that I am willing to just, ship them off. So, it's one of those things. But I love that you do that, and congratulations for your accomplishments. That's amazing.
Thank you. I'm more on the academic side. I homeschool my kids, so I'm not in the clinic a lot. But yeah, it's a great work-life balance.
Oh, yes. And it's all about work-life balance for sure. Speaking of work-life balance, tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of your book.
So the title of my book is Miru's Multan, and the genre was a picture book. This is my debut book, and I wrote it primarily for my son, who had a speech delay. I immigrated from Pakistan, so the book is bilingual. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a really interesting story. I've always been more of a writer, but I never knew that I'm going to be a published writer as well.
I love it. Well, welcome to being a published author with your debut novel. Welcome. You're with family. Hugs, hugs. I love it. Well, so tell me what the publishing journey and process was like for you, since this is your debut novel.
So this is it's a debut, it's a picture book, and so the process I thought was pretty. I fantasized it a lot, but it's a lot of work, because I'm self-published, and so I basically wanted the word to be out. The book is bilingual. It's in Urdu and English, and I wanted to. There were two things. So I wanted to write a book for kids who don't see themselves. We have a lot of Spanish books. We have a lot of Black characters now, but we don't have any books that represent not Southeast Asia, but South Asia, which is India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And so we have a very few books that are quality books that represent Pakistani children in particular. And being an immigrant, you always have a chip on the shoulder. English is your second language. You know, you try to fit in. Most of the kids that I see in my clinic, and I mean, normally in practice, they're ashamed, and so they do want to disown that part of themselves just because everybody around them is telling them that the most important thing is to blend in. And so there's a huge identity crisis. And so when I wrote this book, I wrote it for initially for my son because he wouldn't listen to any other stories. I know, as a, you know, being working in Pete's, that reading to kids is so important, but he just wouldn't engage. He also had a speech delay. Every classic book that I liked, he dismissed. He was not into Curious George. So I began telling him my stories, which I thought nothing of because I grew up with very little, but he found them fascinating. So the book describes of us showering outside under a hand pump, and for these kids it was like mind blowing. He was like, can you shower outside? So it was not swimming, it's literally taking a bath outside in a hand pump, sleeping outside on a bed called charpai. And so these things, and we woke up to, you know, parrots. There were so many parrots I remember in the air. So for me, I mean, one of my friends told me that, you know, go for it. I'm going to be your first customer if you're scared that nobody's going to buy your book. And so just because of that little push, I began the journey. I found an absolutely amazing freelance Pakistani illustrator, and I wanted the book to be my way because I know that even if I had an agent, it takes years currying them for somebody to accept your work, and then your work kind of doesn't remain yours, and they would hire somebody who would never be able to translate the nuances that I wanted the book to depict. The illustrations would never pick on the small things that that a Pakistani illustrator would, you know, pick onto. And I wanted the translations to be authentic because the parents who are reading them, they're bilingual and they understand if it's done by somebody who knows about Pakistan versus not. So there were so many factors that I considered that I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go ahead, bite the bullet, and I'm gonna self-publish. So I went ahead first. I went to a really huge festival and I just had an idea and I told people I'm doing this. My husband thought I was insane. And people bought pre-orders. So they pre-ordered the book and it was like, to me, it was so exhilarating because by the end of it, I had sold 25 pre-orders. And my husband was like, this is insane. I would never buy into something like this. You don't have anything to show for. I just had a poster and people, and to me, after that, I was like, okay, only 25 people. You know, you doubt yourself. You're like, this is it. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna buy it after these 25 people.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's been difficult. It's an uphill battle, I will say, for an independent publisher. But it's a learning curve. I enjoyed it, actually.
Yeah. Well, so you have found your home because indie and small press authors is my happy spot. I feel like they don't get the recognition that they deserve. And so yes, welcome to the self-publishing, and you take control of it and you get your own royalties and everything like that. So welcome. We are so happy to have you. But I think that is amazing that you sold 20 and 25 pre-orders of your book. That's not something that fresh right out of the gate always happens, so congratulations, and that's amazing. My husband's family is actually from South India and he's a first generation here, and so I can relate to that. I have two daughters that will be they're half white and half Indian. And so to have kind of a book that encompasses them and things like that, there's not a whole lot out there either. So I commend you on writing your book and wanting it to be your way and to make sure the nuances and stuff of, Pakistan and the culture and everything kind of remained the way that you wanted it to be. And I think that that's important. So kudos to you just all around, and your illustrator and everything like that. Look at you. So have you been bitten by the writing and publishing bug? Are you going to publish and write some more? Or what is that like for you?
So, what's interesting, everybody, the title of the book is Meru's Multan, right? Multan is not a very well-known city now, but it is the only city which has been continuously been inhabited since Prophet Noah. And it's been I'm sure you've heard of the Indian poem Mahabharata. It was one of the capitals in that poem as well. Alexander the Great conquered it. And so when I researched the region, you'd be surprised. I'm going to go back to what Carol said, and she spoke about people don't know their geography. I didn't know anything about Multan, Amy. I wrote the book because my parents had a really difficult marriage, and I couldn't be myself until I came to this city in the summers, and I was with my aunt, and she was unmarried and she was employed there. She was kind of a legend, and she let me be, so I could be myself. I was allowed to be a kid. She didn't love me just based on my performance and my grades. She just let me be. So I initially wrote about it because of the love and the belonging, and I felt heard and seen. I didn't know anything about the importance of the city, and I didn't grow up in it. So when people come to me and they're like, did you grow up in it? Because there's so many people who actually grew up in the city. And I'm like, no. And so they're like, then why did you write about it? Why didn't you write about another bigger city? I was born in Lahore, which is much well known, and it's much wealthier and it's much developed. But I want to tell people that it's how you make people feel is what they were going to remember, even for kids. It's not about the grand gestures or anything else. Love drove me to write this picture book about a city that I felt that I belong to more than what I was born in. So a lot of people now come to me, they're like, when are you going to write about other cities? So yes, it has bitten me kind of. There are other people who are coming from really small towns, and they're like, so I am thinking, I don't know if people want me to write about their particular city, because they get really excited about their city, right? They're telling me, write about this city and that city. And so there's a lot of research that goes into that, because I haven't visited all the cities in Pakistan. I'm again going to be the first person to admit that we didn't have the resources, and my parents were interested in anything out of academia, so we didn't travel much. I do travel a lot now, but not in Pakistan, everywhere else. But so yes, hopefully, I'm thinking of something time travel and going to Lahore and having the main character is my oldest son Saif, having him and his sister visiting sometime, making like a time. It's yes, it is. I'm excited. I'm more excited now because the more I meet people, the more I know that they like it, they love it. The reception is so warm, even though the marketing is such a pain, Amy. And it's so outside my comfort zone, because I'm used to working behind a computer and not interacting and in academia and everything. And so now I have to go and tell people about the book. But it's the general, how we exchange energies. It's just I feed off of their energy, and yes, hopefully it's going to be a series, and hopefully I can retain the quality of the book.
I think the most important thing, to focus on that I hear you kind of talk about is the whole purpose and the driving factor of your book and why you wrote it, right? Like the whole driving factor was love, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that marketing is a pain for everybody, and I market books, okay? So I get it. I understand. I get it. I 100% get it. And I think when it comes to marketing your book, especially because it is a children's picture book, right? And children's books sometimes can be difficult to market, even though I feel like every children's book that is out there, because my daughter is terrible with my money, is kind of how I define it. My daughter's going to murder my bank account, and that's just, I'm okay with it at the moment in time because she's 4 and she's cute, and we're just going to go with it. But sometimes from an author perspective, you have to forget that you're the author and go back to being a reader. And what would you want to see to buy that book? And that's so hard. It's easy for me to say, right? Because I'm not a writer. You guys have gotten my emails. You all know this. My grammar and punctuation is awful, and I use Grammarly. Okay, commas are going to be the death of me. But from a reader's standpoint, right, that's the best advice I think that I can give you is you have to go back to being a reader. And it's even more difficult for children's authors because you have to go back to being on the level of a child and what they would see, because you're really marketing with your illustrations for the child to pick up your book. So that way the child harasses their mom, aka me, my 4-year-old, and then the parent buys the book because the kid really wants it and it's a book, it's educational. Yeah, we're going to do that, right? So that's really what you're appealing to. So it's definitely one of those things where marketing is just, you got to get out of your own head when it comes to marketing. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely one of those things that you have to do. But how long did it take you from the moment that you had the thought to write your book to get it in full-blown production and published?
It took me a whole year. So it took me a day to write the book. I knew I literally wrote it down in the night. I had my son read it. But then it went through so many edits. The illustrator did an absolutely phenomenal job. Everybody who picks my book is like, the illustrations are to die for. I'm not even kidding. She took the story, and so they told me that, in traditional publishing, 50% is the author's job and 50% is the illustrator's job. But I believe in my picture book, she just took it to another level, the absolute details that she added were they're actually mind-blowing. I have the book in front of me. I don't even know if it's going to do justice if I show you right now, but it's unbelievably detailed. And so it took me a really long time. My illustrator wanted to kill me because I gave her literally a couple of months to go through everything, and then I would nitpick on, I don't want it this way. And then we would share pictures. And so I went to Multan. I went to Pakistan. I went to Multan. I took all the pictures that I wanted her to actually draw. And I wanted it to be so, I was fixated on it being absolutely accurate. And so it took me a while. Yes. Just because of me being a type A, it took a while. So it took a year, which people say people were about to kill me because, they pre-ordered, and then I was like, it's going to come in December. Now it's going to come on Easter. Now it's going to come on Eid. People are like, what the hell? They tracked me. Can you believe it? I don't know how they got a hold of my address, and people started sending me mail that, do you remember we paid for this book and we've not received it yet? And because I did one pre-order and then I went to another book fair and sold another dozen or two dozen books there, and then people know people because this is a small niche, and then everybody got a hold of probably my address, and and I got scared, when I got one of these people mailed me something, and I was scared. But
Yeah.
it took so long, Amy, because I wanted to be proud of it. Seriously, I didn't want to shoot something that I didn't like. So yeah, it took time, but I tell people that with a traditional publisher it takes 18 to 24 months, so you should be grateful you got it early.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with wanting to put out a quality book. And when you're self-publishing, you have to have pride in what you're putting out for, especially because you're the one funding it. A traditional publisher, they're going to put out their quality standards and all that because they're funding it. You're the one funding your book, right? So you're going to put out the quality that you want. And children's books, listen, I will tell you 100% because I am, like I said, I'm 31 years old and I will read children's books because I read to my kids before bed. And illustrations are what sell that book. It's the illustrations. The better the illustrations are, the more time and nitpicking on the details that you do, the better it's going to be. So, I mean, you've done all of the right things, and it's just the first time being a first-time author and publishing your book and all of that. But to have the hype, look at you got groupies that are coming and sending you stuff, girl. I mean, that's dangerous, but at the same time, it's a compliment because they really wanted your book. It's a compliment.
I don't know, but I never thought it's possible for people to actually track because I've pre-ordered so many things in the past and supported people, and I've forgotten about them. And when they come, it's a surprise. I didn't know people would actually remember and track me down, and send me DMs and, send me mail asking me where's the book. I was like, wow.
Interesting. You got your own little fan club. I love it. Well, so what's next for you? Are you going to write another book? Are you going to focus on getting Miru's Muton book up out of, and put it on your marketing hat? What's next for you?
So for me, honestly, because it took me, I don't know if people talk about it, but getting a good book out is thousands of dollars. You pay to the illustrator, the marketing. I joined IBPA. Everything is really, really expensive. So I do want to write another book, but I'm going to try to find an agent. For this particular book, I am going to market it a bit more because I think that there's still a huge audience that doesn't know about it. I've yet to find anybody who's found the book and who hasn't appreciated it. So it just means that I need to make it more. I need to have more people aware about it. So maybe, Amy, I'm looking at you. It's published, but you have to do some miracles with it.
I gotta work I gotta like wave my magic wand and work miracles with it. Okay. Challenge accepted. I can work miracles to an extent, but I mean, pulling magic rabbits out of hats are a different story, but I do accept your challenge. So with that all being said, tell me about your holiday promotion and special going on this holiday season.
So holidays are really special to me, even though I'm a practicing Muslim, because my son was born on Christmas Day. And with the competition from the other person who was also in labor, my son was born, the first child born in Hopkins in 2013 on Christmas Day at night. So,
Wow.
he's 25th December, which he thinks is a curse because everything is closed. Anyway, yes, so the ebook is going to be for 99 cents. All through till January 1st. And there's going to be, I'm going to delight people with other stuff, but, let's keep it a surprise.
Oh, the holidays are all about surprises and loving and just giving and sharing. I'm a huge advocate for that. But Dr. Merle, it was so lovely to talk with you and to hear all about your book. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us this evening for the 12 Days of Page Turners.
Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you for having us. And I loved the other authors too, especially I'm not into scary books. So pardon me, it scares me. I cannot deal with them, but I'm going to check out Carol's book because she's right there. I also found out about the Diamond National Park in Arkansas, and my kids really want to go to that. So thank you so much for bringing so much awareness and supporting us.
Oh, absolutely. It's what I love to do. So you guys, I told you I had some amazing authors with some amazing holiday promotions, but it doesn't end here tonight. Tomorrow, we have a whole new set of authors with all new holiday promotions. But for tonight, everybody, we hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Take advantage of these holiday promotions. They're in the copy above and the comment section down below. So make sure that you take advantage of all of these.